in a small hidden neighborhood in Ouagadougou, far from billion-dollar factories in Turkey, China, or the United States. Two young Burkinabe inventors quietly built something that would shock their nation's leader. Not imported, not copied, but engineered from scratch. A fleet of drones capable of surveillance, reconnaissance, and even detecting hidden mines. This is the unbelievable story of how two unknown geniuses stunned Captain Ibrahim Traoré and possibly changed Burkina Faso's technological future forever. Forget the polished labs of companies like Bayraktar or Inc. This story begins in a modest workshop with cheap tools, homemade notebooks, and a 3D printer sitting on a wooden table. Here, Alexandre Ouamdaogo and Toussaint Kintéga, two self-taught engineers driven purely by passion, decided Burkina Faso would not wait for foreign nations to bring innovation. So they built their own. They designed aerodynamics on paper, calculated wing geometry by hand, printed the parts themselves, and tested their creations in the dusty streets of Ouaga. What they produced next would become one of the most inspiring technological breakthroughs in West Africa. Welcome to Win Africa, where we bring you stories of innovation, courage, and African genius reshaping the future. If this is your first time here, buckle up, because today's story is unbelievable. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has always emphasized one thing: Africa is not lacking intelligence, only opportunity.
We should no longer be seen as beggars. It is us who should give to others what we have not finished consuming. It is us who should do the right.
In his speeches, he reminds young Africans that God created the white man and the black man with the same brain, the same thinking capacity, and the same ability to innovate. To him, the future of Africa depends on the courage of its youth to create, invent, and rise beyond limitation. And across the continent, that spirit is awakening. In Zambia, Zimbabwe, Kenya, and Nigeria, young innovators are building machines, robots, electric bikes, and autonomous devices that shock the world. And Burkina Faso is no exception. Just recently, a 17-year-old Burkinabe boy built an electric car from scratch, using nothing but local tools and pure determination. It stunned citizens nationwide. More Gen Z creators across the country have begun rising with innovations in renewable energy, robotics, and local engineering solutions. But this time, the story gets even more interesting, because two young men, Alexandre and Toussaint, were working on something far more advanced, something that would rise above every house, every field, every horizon. The first masterpiece, the Nying and Niffrey, the eye from above. Their first major creation was a fixed-wing surveillance drone they named Nying and Niffrey, which in more means the eye from above. This wasn't just a flying device. It was a multi-purpose aerial tool capable of topography, cartography, agricultural field scanning, power line inspection, photography and videography, security surveillance, and even AI-assisted detection from the sky. It could fly at 60 to 70 kilometers per hour, maintain stable altitude, and cover large territories with precision. But the part that shocked everyone most, every visible component was designed on-site, not imported, not downloaded, not assembled from a foreign kit. Alexandre explains.
The drone we bought was only for the motors and a bit of electronics. We later bought all the components we needed. But now, we buy the electronic components to design things our own way. Everything related to the frame, the drone's body, the systems, the mechanical supports, everything you see here was designed on site, including the geometry of the wings. For a fixed-wing drone to fly, you must calculate the wing geometry, study aerodynamics, and so on. We did all of that here. This drone, as you see, will be equipped with a camera. The camera will be used for mapping and aerial surveillance. It can also be used for detection because artificial intelligence will be integrated into the camera, allowing it to identify certain objects. We can take photos or video clips to train the model so that when it sees something, it knows what it is. That is roughly what this drone will be used for.
Their process was raw, but brilliant. They started with sketches on paper, refined them through digital simulations, then slowly brought each idea to life using a 3D printer, piece by piece, wing by wing, circuit by circuit. They built the Nying and Niffrey completely from scratch.
With this printer, we first design everything in CAD, computer-aided design, on the computer. Then we send the file to the 3D printer and begin printing. This is the kind of result we obtain. This is part of our drone, which we will assemble soon. We study the system on paper, do all the geometric and aerodynamic calculations, and even plan the electronic connections. Then we move to the computer, run simulations, and adapt the design. With passion, you can go a long way. Before reaching this stage, we had many trials and many failures. Our first test failed completely, the drone crashed and was destroyed. We had to start over from zero. But now, we are seeing some stability. It wasn't easy at the beginning.
Of course, the journey wasn't smooth. Their first prototype lifted off, only to crash and shatter into fragments. They rebuilt it. Crashed again. They rebuilt. It failed in midair. They rebuilt. Until one day, under the dusty Ouagadougou sun, their creation finally rose and stayed in the air. The eye from above had been born, and Burkina Faso would never be the same again. If the Nying and Niffrey was the eye from above, then their next creation would become the silent scout of Burkina Faso's skies. Enter the KUKA 88, a sleek, lightweight reconnaissance drone built not just to observe, but to predict, navigate, and return to base with near-machine precision. The KUKA 88 was unlike anything the two young men had attempted before. It wasn't designed for vertical takeoff like a typical quadcopter. No, this one demanded real aeronautical skill. To get airborne, the drone had to be thrown by hand or launched from a catapult or ramp. Just like the tactical drones used by modern armies around the world. But that requirement came with risk. Their first attempt to launch it by hand ended in disaster. The drone tilted sharply, lost balance, and smashed into the ground within seconds.
This drone here is the KUKA 88. It is designed for aerial surveillance, reconnaissance missions, and inspections. Unlike the other drone, it cannot take off vertically, so we must throw it manually or use a catapult. We can program the flight path with GPS points and missions. The operator handles the video feed. Once the drone is launched, it completes the mission and returns safely. This is the PYGA drone. Here is its 3D model. We previously ordered its carbon fiber frame from a company, but when we acquire a CNC cutting machine, we will produce all parts ourselves. It detects buried mines using a metal detector sensor mounted beneath the drone. Since mines contain metal, wires, power cables, and so on, the sensor can detect them. In the military field, this rocket can be modified to carry military payloads. We have already planned for that. We also intend to adapt it for drones capable of transporting rockets. We want to develop electronic systems for air-to-ground or ground-to-air launches. You can place it in a vehicle, and it sends your location every 2 minutes. We developed a platform to visualize this data and another platform for remote meter control.
Let's pause for a second If you've watched this video up to this point, or you're still tuned in, it means you truly care about the message and support Africa's growth. Please take a moment to subscribe and follow our YouTube community. It shows that you appreciate the effort behind this content and want to see more stories that matter. Let's continue. Most people would have given up, but Alexandre and Toussaint didn't. Instead, they engineered a launch ramp stabilizing platform that guided the drone into the air at the perfect angle, ensuring the wings caught enough lift before turbulence could ruin the flight. This single innovation transformed the KUKA 88 from a risky experiment into a reliable aerial tool, a drone with a mind of its own. But what truly sets the KUKA 88 apart is not its body, it's its brain. The drone can be programmed with a full mission route, GPS waypoints, altitude levels, and specific reconnaissance objectives. Once the mission is uploaded and the drone is launched, it doesn't need human control. The KUKA 88 follows its GPS path, scans the designated area, records or transmits data, and then makes its way back entirely on its own. This is not hobby-level engineering. This is not a toy drone or a modified store-bought device. This is military-grade intelligence and autonomy, built not in a multi-million-dollar facility, but in a secret neighborhood workshop in Ouagadougou, powered by passion, knowledge, and limited tools. The KUKA 88 proved one thing clearly: if given the right environment, Burkinabe youth can produce the kind of technology nations usually import at extreme cost. And this was only the beginning, because what came next would be their most dangerous creation yet. For years, Burkina Faso has faced one of the most challenging security crises in West Africa. Entire villages have been displaced. Roads have become unsafe.
Footage from social media appears to show a militant attack on an army base in northern Burkina Faso. Multiple soldiers were killed, sources have said, while a separate assault in the south left dozens of civilians dead. It's violence that underscores a spiraling insecurity in the junta-led country.
The fight against terrorism has stretched the country's resources thin, and traditional surveillance methods are no longer enough. In a battlefield where enemies hide in forests, cross borders silently, and plant explosives beneath the soil, technology is no longer a luxury, it is a lifeline. This is why the inventions of Alexandre and Toussaint are not just projects or hobbies. They are critical tools that can save soldiers' lives, detect hidden threats, secure supply routes, and give Burkina Faso the technological edge it desperately needs. Their drones represent something deeper, a new generation of Burkinabe solutions rising from within, ready to defend the nation when it needs it most. For decades, Burkina Faso, like many African nations, has relied heavily on imported weapons, foreign drones, and expensive military equipment to fight insecurity. Every new tool had to be purchased abroad, shipped across borders, repaired overseas, or upgraded by foreign contractors. This dependence not only drained national resources, but also slowed down the country's ability to respond quickly to evolving threats. Yet today, with young innovators like Alexandre and Toussaint building advanced drones from scratch right inside Ouagadougou, a new chapter is beginning. Their creations prove that Burkina Faso no longer has to wait for foreign nations to supply its defense needs. This could be a turning point the moment the nation transitions from importing technology to producing its own, strengthening sovereignty, reducing costs, and building a homegrown military industry driven by African ingenuity. But their most dangerous invention is the PYGA drone, named after the fallen hero Captain PYGA. This drone is built to do what few dare attempt in West Africa: detect hidden improvised explosive devices underneath the drone, sits a metal detector sensor. As it flies close to the ground, it scans for metal wires, buried cables, explosive triggers. Hidden mines of every suspicious point is automatically marked on a digital map. By the time soldiers arrive the next morning, they already know where danger lies. PYGA is not just a drone. It is a lifesaver, a silent soldier, a guardian from above. In the same small workshop, Alexandre and Toussaint also work on rockets, educational rockets for experimentation, yes, but also rockets that, with modifications, could carry military payloads, be mounted on drones, and launch air-to-ground or ground-to-air. Their innovations align with Captain Ibrahim Traoré's call for youth-led invention to help the nation become independent from foreign imports. But Alexandre and Toussaint have one final wish. Support from authorities will help us produce drones, rockets, and other technologies at a national scale. They are not dreaming. They are building. And what they've built already surprised the nation and shocked its leader. From a hidden corner of Ouagadougou to young men crafted machines powerful enough to transform agriculture, strengthen national security, and save the lives of soldiers. What began as scrap materials and passion has become a technological movement.